I had been counting down the days. For months, I scraped together every spare dollar I could. I took on extra shifts, missed weekend outings with friends, and convinced myself it would all be worth it. I had planned everything to the last detail, flights booked, a cozy little seaside hotel reserved, and a week of quiet escape from the chaos of everyday life. It wasn't extravagant, but it was mine. I had earned it. Then came the family dinner. You know the kind where everyone's catching up, pretending everything's perfect, but then someone casually drops a comment that derails your entire world. That's when my mom, with her usual cheerful tone, said, "Oh, we were just talking, and we thought your sister and the kids could use that trip instead. You don't mind, right?" I froze. At first, I thought I must have misheard. My trip? For her? My sister, who always had a way of being handed things she didn't work for, and her kids, who apparently now deserved the vacation I'd been busting my back for. My mom's voice was so light, so casual, as though this was the most reasonable idea in the world. Before I could even process the words, my phone buzzed. A message from my sister: "Thanks for letting us take the trip. The kids are so excited. You're the best." I stared at the screen, the words swimming in front of me. They hadn't asked. They hadn't even hinted. They had just decided, just like that what I'd worked for wasn't mine anymore. I felt a rush of anger rise in my chest, but I kept quiet at the table, barely touching my food. Later that night, when I was alone, the weight of it all hit me. It wasn't just about the vacation, it was the principle. It was every moment I'd swallowed my frustration, every time I'd let things slide, because that's just how it is with family. Well, not this time. Before we continue, I just want to take a moment to thank you for being here and watching this story. If you've ever felt like your efforts went unnoticed, like someone just took what was rightfully yours without a second thought, then I think you'll really relate to what happens next. If you're enjoying the story so far and want to hear more like this, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps support the channel. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any of these unbelievable tales. Oh, and feel free to share this video with someone who'd love to hear this story too, maybe even someone who's had their own plans hijacked. Alright, let's get back to it. That night, I sat in my room, phone in hand, reading and rereading the message from my sister. "Thanks for letting us take the trip. The kids are so excited. You're the best." Those words played over and over in my mind, each time stinging a little more. They hadn't asked. They hadn't even pretended it was a suggestion. They had just decided, for me, without a second thought. At first, I felt frozen, like maybe I was overreacting. Was I being selfish for wanting this trip to myself? But then another thought crept in: why did I even need to ask myself that? Hadn't I worked for this? Hadn't I earned it? For years, I had been the one to step aside, to accommodate, to let things slide. But this time, the weight of it all hit differently. This wasn't just about the vacation. It was every ignored effort, every overlooked moment, every time I was expected to take the back seat so someone else could take the spotlight. If you've ever been in a situation like that, you'll understand, it's not the one incident that breaks you, it's all the small ones leading up to it. And in that moment, I knew I couldn't let this go. This trip wasn't some random luxury or impulsive decision. It was something I had been looking forward to for months. I don't come from a life where vacations are handed to me. Every dollar I had saved for this came from skipping things, missing nights out, working extra shifts, saying no when I really wanted to say yes. It was my chance to recharge, to just breathe for once. I had picked a small, quiet beach town. Nothing extravagant, just a cozy little spot where I could walk along the shore, leave my phone behind, and feel like I existed outside of everyone else's expectations. And for once, it wasn't about my sister, her kids, or anyone else. It was about me. If you've ever worked hard for something, only to watch it be taken away or dismissed like it doesn't matter, then you'll understand exactly what I was feeling. And in that moment, I decided this wasn't going to be like all the other times. I wasn't going to let them take this from me. As I sat there, staring at that message, it felt less like a request and more like a slap in the face. "Thanks for letting us take the trip," my sister had written, as if this was already decided, as if my time, my effort, my plans didn't matter. It wasn't even about the vacation anymore, it was about years of being treated like my priorities were somehow second to hers. For as long as I could remember, my family had a pattern. My sister, the one with the golden reputation, always seemed to come first. Holidays, birthdays, decisions, everything was built around what worked for her and her kids. And me? I was the one who quietly adjusted, the one who gave way to keep the peace. But this time, it hit differently. This trip wasn't just a getaway, it was the first thing in years I had done entirely for myself. I had spent months looking forward to it, imagining the freedom of waking up without anyone needing me. No demands, no last-minute requests, no guilt. Just me, the ocean, and a chance to feel like I wasn't running on empty anymore. So when my family casually decided it was now for her and her kids, it felt like they were saying I didn't deserve it, like my hard work didn't count. And maybe that was the worst part, it wasn't even the first time something like this had happened. But this time, I felt something shift inside me. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was tired. Tired of being the one who always adjusted, the one who always stayed quiet. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't just about a trip. This was about years of being expected to give up pieces of myself so others could have what they wanted. Have you ever had a moment like that? A moment when everything you've been holding back finally bubbles to the surface, and you know you can't ignore it anymore? That's exactly where I was. And in that moment, I made a decision. This time, things were going to be different. I didn't respond right away. There was no point, anything I said would have been twisted into an accusation of selfishness. Instead, I just stared at my phone, that string of messages sitting there like a slap across the face. They weren't asking, they were telling. It was so typical, so expected, and yet this time, it felt different. My sister's excitement came through loud and clear. The kids are over the moon. We haven't had a proper vacation in years. As if that made it okay. As if I hadn't just told them, days earlier, how much this trip meant to me. It wasn't the first time I'd been overlooked. For years, I played the role of the easygoing one, the one who never caused waves. My sister? She was always the focus, her needs, her struggles, her kids. And every time, my mom had the same way of framing it, as if it was my duty to step aside. This wasn't just about a vacation anymore. It was about how little my time, my work, my sacrifices had ever seemed to matter. They didn't even stop to think about what this might feel like for me. It was just assumed, of course I'd say yes, of course I'd let it go. For a moment, I wondered if I was overthinking it. Was I being too sensitive? Was I really going to make this a big deal? But then another thought crept in, one I couldn't ignore. Why should I always be the one to adjust? Why was it so easy for them to ask, but impossible for them to understand why I might not want to say yes? The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about a single decision. They weren't just taking my vacation. They were taking for granted that I'd let them. And maybe I had, for far too long. But this time was going to be different. I had a choice to make, and it wasn't an easy one. I could let them take this trip from me, just like they'd taken so many things before, or I could do something no one expected. Something that would remind them that I wasn't just there to make life easier for everyone else. I didn't tell them what I was thinking. I didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't give them the satisfaction of knowing they'd gotten to me. Instead, I waited. Quietly, deliberately, I went online, opened my reservation, and clicked the cancel button. The confirmation popped up almost instantly, my plans disappearing in a matter of seconds. But this wasn't me giving up. Not by a long shot. If they thought they'd won, they were about to be proven very, very wrong. With that same calm determination, I started looking for something better, something bigger, something entirely for me. And then I found it, a secluded spot halfway across the world. White sands, crystal clear waters, and best of all, not a single chance they could interfere this time. I booked it immediately. Same week, new location, and no one knew a thing. I'll admit, a small part of me hesitated. Would they be furious? Would this cause a fight that I wasn't ready to handle? But then I thought about the years I'd spent bending over backward to keep the peace. About all the times I'd set aside what I wanted because it was easier to let them have their way. And just like that, the hesitation disappeared. The morning of what should have been their trip, I was already on my way to the airport. I remember looking at my phone, half expecting one of them to call, to check in, to make sure everything was going smoothly. But they didn't. They didn't even think to ask. And honestly, that only made my decision feel more justified. By the time they realized I wasn't at home, it was too late. I was sitting on a sun-drenched beach, drink in hand, watching the waves rolling like I didn't have a care in the world. My phone started buzzing, the messages flooding in one after the other. My mom. My sister. Even a few relatives who had somehow gotten involved. Where are you? You were supposed to help us with the check-in. This is so selfish. The kids are devastated. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to be petty, but because, for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I owed anyone an explanation. Was it selfish? Maybe. But after everything they had taken for granted, after every sacrifice I'd made to keep them happy, I couldn't bring myself to care. This wasn't about being right or wrong anymore. It was about finally doing something for myself without apologizing for it. My phone didn't stop buzzing for hours. Each new notification carried another wave of anger and disbelief from my family. My sister was the first to lash out. Wow, you really ditched us for yourself? The kids are heartbroken. The tone was dripping with entitlement, as though I had committed some unspeakable crime by prioritizing myself. I stared at the message for a moment, weighing my response. Normally, I'd fall into the trap of justifying my actions, trying to explain why this time was different. But not today. I typed out a simple reply. It was MY vacation. Then I put my phone down and let the ocean breeze take away any lingering guilt. The messages kept coming, though. My mom, true to form, wasted no time laying on the guilt. You know how hard it's been for your sister. This trip was important for the kids. You're better than this. The words were designed to make me feel small, to make me question if I had done the right thing. But this time, their guilt-tripping didn't work. I finally felt what it meant to stand firm. I wasn't mean, I wasn't angry, I was just done bending over backward for people who didn't consider my feelings. I replied to my mom with a calm but firm message, maybe next time, ask before you take what's mine. The fallout didn't end there. Extended family somehow got wind of the situation, and of course, they had their opinions too. Messages came in from aunts and uncles I hadn't heard from in months. Family comes first, one said. Another chimed in, you should have thought about the kids. Everyone had something to say, and yet not one person asked me how I felt or why this trip mattered so much to me. For years, I'd been the one to hold the family together, to put everyone else's needs ahead of my own. But the truth is, you can only give so much before there's nothing left for yourself. This wasn't just about the vacation, it was about showing them that my time, my effort, and my boundaries deserved respect too. Sure, my sister was furious. My mom was disappointed. And the rest of the family had their judgments. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I needed their approval. I didn't need to explain myself or make them understand. I had done what was right for me, and that was enough. And as I sat on that beach, watching the waves roll in, the phone buzzing incessantly next to me, I realized something. I didn't regret a single thing. While I sat on the beach, letting the waves roll in and the sun warm my face, something clicked for me. For the first time in years, I realized it's okay to put myself first. It's okay to draw a line, even when it's with the people closest to you. Family might mean a lot, but it doesn't mean giving up your happiness or letting them take advantage of you. This wasn't just about a vacation. It was about reclaiming my space, my time, and my right to say, this is for me. For so long, I had been the one who adjusted, who stayed quiet to keep the peace, who put myself last. But when you keep doing that, you end up losing yourself along the way. I won't lie, standing up for myself wasn't easy. There was guilt, there was anger, and there were a lot of uncomfortable moments. But looking back, I don't regret a thing. Because in that moment, I finally felt like I was in control of my own life. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have given up the vacation to avoid the fight, or would you have taken a stand like I did? Let me know in the comments below. I'm honestly curious to hear your take. And before you go, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for spending your time with me, for listening to this story, and for being here. If you liked this video and want to hear more stories like this, go ahead and hit the like button. It really helps. Don't forget to subscribe, too. There's so much more I want to share with you. And if you know someone who might relate to this story, feel free to share it with them. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.